Hi everyone, this is Kim from Dodges and Daisies. Welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome to my channel. Today's video is a special New York vintage haul video. We recently were home visiting Long Island, New York, and as I always do when I'm home, I do quite a lot of antiquing and vintage shopping. This is just a video on the things that I collected while there and brought back. I personally think New York, both Long Island where we are from and upstate New York, which we like to visit, are absolutely wonderful places to find antiques and vintage treasures. So first up, we have this really beautiful hand-painted plate from Poland. I found this at the Peconic River Herb Farm. If you watched my last video, and if you haven't, I would suggest giving it a quick watch. It's a quick video. It's only about 8 minutes long. It kind of takes you around the places that we went while we were there and just can kind of give you just an idea of the ambiance and vibes of the places that we tend to go, and I tend to find these great little treasures. Peconic River Herb Farm is one of my absolute favorite places. As you can see, this was hand painted in Poland. It's signed by the artist. I absolutely love the daisies around the Slavic dancers. Being Slavic myself, this was just a really beautiful find to me. And Peconic River Herb Farm is just such an absolutely magical place. It's where I take most of the footage, both photographs for Instagram and footage for YouTube whenever we're home. It's really just a magical place. It kind of combines plants with like almost a park kind of feel. You can sit by the lake, you can walk around the grounds. There's tons of nurseries and plants that you can see, but there's also barns full of antiques. It's just a really great place to go. So I did have to do a voiceover on this video. I am a New Yorker. I do talk with my hands, so you'll see, unfortunately, a bit of a disconnect with my hand movement and my voice. This is the second video that this happened with, and I always apologize when it happens. Something went wrong with the audio recording, but I will try my best to keep what I'm saying matching my hand movements. But like I said, I'm from New York. I talk with my hands. I always come home with at least one plant, usually multiple plants. This time I did keep it to one just because I'm really running out of room. My entire studio is just full of houseplants. I absolutely love them, but I couldn't resist coming home with just one, so that was the one that I chose. We picked up a few vintage books. Vintage books are always what I look for whenever I go antiquing or thrifting. I definitely have two different types of books that I look for. One is just for my personal collection. I do collect vintage books. I use them in home decor. I also just like them. This one was from the 20s. It was also a book, Black Beauty, that I grew up loving. It was one of my favorite stories. It has some really beautiful artwork in it, both full book plates that are full of color and also some sketches. But yeah, there's, I always, like I said, keep an eye out for them. These really old books from the 20s or earlier, not only are they filled with, like I said, just gorgeous book plates of illustration that I sometimes use to decorate with, but I also decorate with the books themselves. The covers are usually just stunning. The artwork back then was really beautiful. This particular book will not be a book that I will be crafting with. I think it's too pretty and too special, so it'll definitely be going on a shelf as a home decor item, which, like I said, I sometimes do. This book, on the other hand, will be a crafting book. I do tend to look for crafting books, especially whenever I go antiquing or thrifting. I use book pages quite a lot. in my crafting, both in my personal crafting and also in my mail outs. Every month I do mail Patreon mail out, and they're always full of vintage book pages and vintage cutouts. I also sell 2 different kinds of ephemera packs in my shop, one that's a mix between vintage and modern stationery, and one that's just a vintage pack. Especially for those vintage packs, I use a lot of old book pages and a lot of illustrations like these shells. So I do mail out quite a lot of vintage goodies, books like this where there's some damage to them. As you can see on the cover, there's some water damage. Just makes it really easy for me to cut up and use for crafting for either myself or my mail outs. I personally like when I find a book that's a little bit beat up because I feel less guilty cutting it up. I really love old books, and like I said, I have savers like Black Beauty and cut-ups like the Shell catalog. This little whale was something I've actually had my eye on for a while. I've always kept my eyes open for these little vintage brass paper clips. They're just really great items to find if you can, but I actually never come across them in my travels. I'm always looking for them wherever we stop. They're great when you're journaling to kind of hold the journal pages open, and so like you can craft and you don't have to worry about the journal closing on you. Like I said, I always look for them. I never find them. I was antiquing with my mom in Remember Yesteryears in Oakdale, and she actually saw how much I loved it and surprised me with it. She bought it for me when I wasn't looking, and yeah, I just appreciated that a lot. Beeswax candles are something I always come home with too whenever we go home. As you can see, I burn candles constantly whenever I am crafting, whenever I'm filming a YouTube video, whenever I'm writing pen pal letters. I'm always burning candles. I personally have allergies and asthma. I do deal with a lot of breathing problems. So beeswax actually cleans the air instead of polluting it. So I always bring home beeswax candles with me whenever I come back. They're great if you have allergy problems. This little box is a vintage letter organizer. I found it again in Peconic River Herb Farm. I love the fact that it was vintage and that it was wood. And I kind of just stored a lot of the goodies that I got from the trip in there. It will definitely be used as either an ephemera organizer or a letter organizer. Just a really great thing to find. I always pick up vintage cards whenever I go antiquing, whenever I find them. I happened to find 2 really cute Norman Rockwell vintage playing cards. These were still in their plastic, so they were never used, which is called new old stock. It is so much fun finding new old stock because not only is it an authentic vintage item, but they're really clean, they're in really good shape. These were also new old stock. They were still in their box. I loved that they were ships, that they were nautical, because we were on Long Island and I'm from Long Island, so I just thought the ship theme was great. These also were really unique in the fact that I hadn't really seen playing cards with the numbers in that design before. Normally they're, like the ones I had in my left hand, but they were just really interesting to me. I got great deals on all of these cards. I use vintage playing cards quite a lot too. In all of my ephemera packs that I mail out in my shop, I always include vintage playing cards. Just like vintage book pages, they're just something that I stick in all of the packs that I make and mail out for people, and also in my Patreon mail. So my Daisy Patreon mail, I always stick in vintage playing cards as well. So because the packs of ephemera I send out usually have very similar things in them, they always have playing cards, they always have vintage paper. A lot of times they have, nature themed cutouts. I always look for unique things that kind of don't fit with everything else, to kind of mix things up. I found these recipe cards from the 1970s, again in Remember Yesteryears in Oakdale. I just thought they were the cutest things. The illustrations were so adorable, so bright and 1970s, and I just thought, what a great unique item to stick into some of my ephemera packs. And also I know just some pen friends that are really into cooking and recipes, and I thought that could be a cute gift for them. These would also make really great journaling cards to stick journaling on and stick in a journal layout. They were just a great find, I thought, as were the food coupon books behind them. I always just look for unique things, like I said, that just are different, that I can stick in ephemera packs for people. Also, I tend to use these a lot in my own crafting. I love these stamps. They were from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, around those time periods. You can find them. I know that my parents recognize them. They're like coupon books, and I absolutely love the stamps that are in them. And then the ends usually have just really fun graphics, very kind of 1960s or mid-century graphics that are also great just for collage. I found 2 of these books. Again, something that I'll always grab if I see them, if the price isn't too expensive. Normally you can find these pretty economically. This one had some really great ads. I love vintage ads. I love to use them myself, and also, like I said, to share them. And this book was kind of a combination of these really fun stamps as well as these really cute mid-century ads. Just really great finds. These cards were both from a local artist, Patrice Conklin, I believe her name is. She is just like us. She uses ephemera pieces like vintage book pages and just, antique paper, just like we do. And she makes really beautiful artwork with both greeting cards and home decor. I have a few of her pieces actually framed and hanging on my wall, and I always, pick up her cards whenever I see them. She sells them in one of my absolute favorite stores, White Flower Farmhouse, which is located in Southold. So I always stop at White Flower Farmhouse whenever we're home, and I always pick up a couple of her products whenever I go in, just because they're really my style. When I saw the barn swallow, which is my favorite bird, I knew that I had to pick this one up. This is going to be a saver for me. I'm going to make a journal out of it. That'll either be the cover of the journal or it'll be inside a journal, but I knew that I had to save that one. The other one I will just be using as a greeting card for a pen friend that I know that really loves and enjoys birds. I think she'll enjoy that card a lot. But yeah, her name on Instagram and her info I will leave in the description below. But I love supporting local artists, especially people that are just like us and do what we do. I think it's important that we support each other. So if anybody knows me, you guys know that postcards are probably my favorite pieces of paper goodies and ephemera to pick up. I did pick up a couple of newer postcards. These were not vintage. I found the mushroom cards in Greenport in a little bookstore there that I like to go into. I just like postcards in general. Yes, vintage postcards are my favorite, but I will buy new ones too. And yeah, so I always come back from Long Island with a ton of vintage postcards. I've actually found finding postcards from Long Island to be very, very difficult. You can find postcards from New York City pretty easily, but finding postcards from Long Island itself is actually pretty difficult. So if ever I can pick some up, I absolutely do. As you can see here, I didn't just pick up local postcards. I picked up just anything that I found interesting. I know a few shops that, you can get really great deals on postcards, and you can find some really interesting ones. So the first few that I put down were from Remember Yesteryears in Oakdale. You can always find them at really great prices. This Easter card and the couple of Niagara Falls postcards I picked up at the Times Vintage, which is a really, really fun store in Greenport. If you guys are local, if you're from Long Island or visiting Long Island, this is definitely a shop that I would suggest. They have a ton of just vintage clothing and mid-century items, everything from a full room of vinyl records to racks and racks of clothing, vintage cookware like Pyrex. They have pennants that I've, bought to hang on my walls. It's just a really, really fun place. It's a place that I've only been to a few times, but each time I enjoy immensely. I've met the owner and her mom and her dad. They've all worked there at times that I've stopped in, and they're all just really, really sweet people. Her dad was actually the one that helped us the time we went in, and he actually brought that really sweet antique Easter postcard out from the back for me because he thought I would like it, which I thought was so sweet. And they're just nice people. I thought that was really, really sweet that he had that card in the back, and he said it reminded him of me for some reason. I'm not sure why, but if an Easter postcard in any way reminds somebody of me, I think that's a very, very sweet thing. And anytime that anything loving or kind or caring is reflected out of me, I find that to be the highest of compliments. So that was sweet. That was something that meant a lot to me. So that was a good experience in there as usual. These I found at Old Holdings Farm. It's either in Aquabog or Jamesport, but it's definitely on the North Fork. Both the playing cards and these Long Island postcards were new old stock. Like I said, that doesn't mean they're new. They are vintage items or antique items. They've just never been used. So when you can find new old stock, I personally always get really excited by it. They're normally not water damaged or dirty or anything like that. So I picked up quite a few of these because, like I said, finding Long Island postcards is actually really difficult, and finding new old stock is difficult. So I do collect vintage postcards, so I will definitely keep a few of these myself. I also use them in journaling. I'll use them as like a tag and stick them in my journal layout. I'll journal on the back of them. Really great to use in a travel journal. Postcards from where you're from. You can decorate the backs of them. You can add journaling to the backs of them and then just stick them in your journal layout. And it's just like an authentic piece of where you're from. I really love doing that. And I did pick up multiples just because I knew I would be mailing some out to friends as well. But I'm sorry, it's Small Holdings Farm. I think I might have said New Holdings Farm before. But again, everything that I've been showing has been either the shop in Oakdale or on the North Fork of Long Island, which is the East End. It's farther from the city. New York City is Western Long Island. I'm from Mid-Island, but I spend most of my time out east on the North Fork, which is, I think, the best place for treasures. There's vineyards, there's farm stands, there's antique stores. It's more of a rural kind of peaceful feel out there, which is why I love it so much and why I spend so much time there. So finally, this was my travel journal home. I used the end of it as sort of a sticker book. I am just somebody that's such a sucker for vinyl stickers, and I always kind of feel bad because I buy them for my travel journals. I always use them in my travel journals, but they're so expensive, vinyl stickers, that I always kind of feel a little guilty just sticking them in a journal and not using them if they're not like on a water bottle or, you know, something more visible. But everything I have is already full of stickers. So I dedicated the end of this journal just to a collection of vinyl stickers and also business cards and stamps on bags. So a lot of places that we bought from, their logo is stamped on the bags that they use. So I cut those out and glued those into, like I said, this was just a separate part of the journal, the end of the journal, and I really, really love just physical pieces of ephemera just to put in my travel journals. I just feel like it adds just something authentic about the experience to have something that you bought there that's physical, that's tangible, that you take home with you. So the end is like my little sticker book. And like I said, it also has just some business cards and some cutouts from bags where we shopped. And that's the end of that journal. My next video, guys, will be pretty soon, and it'll be a flip through of the finished journal. It's almost done because I had pre-made it. It was so easy to finish. It was so easy to fill out. I was able to record things that I probably wouldn't have remembered had I not, journaled there or, kind of right after we came back home. So yeah, it was just a great experience having that pre-made journal and just kind of adding to it as I went with memories. So I will see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed all of the little treasures that I found. And it's always so much fun sharing with you. I think I found a lot of goodies, and I hope you enjoyed.